Al Jazeera Podcasts.
We have received important news. King Richard is very ill.
King Richard, otherwise known as Richard the Lionheart.
He has been struck by fever. The time to strike is now. If we attack the Crusader forces, we will surely overrun them.
The year is 1192. Saladin, the leader of Muslim forces, has been fighting the Christian forces for more than 2 decades. In that time, he's had great triumphs and suffered setbacks. But there is something else Saladin was famous for: chivalry.
Send a team of physicians to our great rival so they can cure him. And also, investigate what has caused him to fall ill.
They are Crusaders. For generations we've been fighting them. We have a chance now to strike a lethal blow and expel them from our lands.
Al-Adil, my brother, the English king may be an invader, but he has shown courage, integrity, and humility.
Richard the Lionheart and Saladin shared a profound sense of respect for one another. An incomprehensible relationship for the King of England's critics back home.
As I said, send our medical team, include a box of cold water and ice, as well as peaches and pears picked from the top of Mount Hermon. As long as he is on our lands, the King of England will be well taken care of. Tell our men to hold their positions until he has healed.
Yes, my brother.
Ever wonder what history's most famous and infamous would say if you asked them for their side of the story? Well, here's your chance. I'm Charles Dance, your narrator for Hindsight, an original podcast by Al Jazeera. This is a dramatized series based on historical events that resurrect some of the world's most notable figures. In this episode, we meet Saladin, a man renowned in both the Muslim and Christian worlds for his leadership, military might, and merciful nature. A general in 12th century AD who became a sultan and a fierce protector of Islam. Saladin was Sultan of the Ayyubid Empire, which spanned Egypt, Syria, the Upper Mesopotamia, Nubia, the Hijaz, and Yemen. One of the best-known generals of the Middle Ages, he led the Muslim military's campaign during the Third Crusade. In hindsight, Saladin inspired numerous future Arab leaders. Hindsight. You've heard of them. Now it's time you hear from them.
My birth name was Yusuf bin Najmuddin al-Ayyubi. In the West, you call me Saladin. But my name is pronounced Salahuddin, which means the righteousness of the faith. I was born in 1137 in Tikrit, a town on the Tigris River. On the night of my birth, my father gathered us all up, and we moved to Mosul. My father was Najmuddin Ayyub, an elite military leader. I had 7 siblings, including my younger brother, Al-Adil, who became my confidant. We were noble Kurds, but you could also say I was a true Levantine.
That was also the time of the Abbasid Caliphate, which overtook the preceding caliphate, the Umayyads. Under the Abbasids, the capital of Islamic political and cultural life moved from Syria to Baghdad in Iraq. The caliphate spread into North Africa, the Hijaz in Saudi Arabia, and all the way through Persia and into Central Asia. In the late Abbasid period, however, the Christian army arrived. Islam's third holiest city, Jerusalem, fell to the army of the First Crusades in 1099.
I was born after the First Crusade and was a child when the second one broke out. We had moved to Damascus, where I studied Islamic sciences, mathematics, and law. From a young age, I learned the art of equestrianism, along with hunting and archery. I also memorized the Quran. My future as a general was inevitable, though. I came from a military family, and it was no surprise when my father had me join my uncle Shirko, a powerful military leader in Damascus. And so I grew up, moving up through the military ranks. My family were expert horsemen, which made us formidable opponents on the battlefield. And on the playing fields, anything on horseback, including a competition similar to polo. But most of all, I just loved horses.
Equestrian sports were a passion Saladin shared with Nur ad-Din, the Emir of Aleppo. It's reported the latter used to have the field lit up by candlelight so that it could be played in the evening. Nur ad-Din was a member of the Zengid dynasty, named after his father, Zengi. When he died, his sons divided the state. Nur ad-Din acquired Syria. Some scholars say he was arguably as important as historical a figure as Saladin. Nur ad-Din beat the Christian forces in the Second Crusade. His goal was to unite Muslim states, a vision Saladin will come to share.
Nur ad-Din was a master in the art of war and politics. He came to be my mentor. I learned much about tolerance and justice from him, especially when it came to a person's faith. What I didn't learn from the emir, I learned from my uncle, Shirko. He was a military commander under Nur ad-Din. His teachings were exhausting. From my uncle, I learned how to stockpile supplies, lead troops in battle, and I learned how to negotiate. I spoke Kurdish and Arabic, and knew some Turkish and Persian too.
Now in his early 20s, Saladin had grown into a slim, dark-haired man. His pointed black beard matched the style of Islamic nobles. The emir Nur ad-Din was impressed with young Saladin and appointed him chief of police. His military acumen also made him a trustworthy soldier in battle.
Uncle, we should send the archers to attack the enemy's flank. In 1164, Nur ad-Din deployed my uncle and I in the first army into Egypt to fight the Crusaders. We carried out 3 campaigns over 5 years, until finally we were victorious. My uncle was named vizier of the last Fatimid caliph in Cairo in January 1169. He died 2 months later. I owe you so much, my dear uncle. No expense will be spared for your funeral.
Shirko's official cause of death was severe quinsy, a swelling of the throat. Shirko was obese, and his unique cause of death was partly blamed on his overeating. Saladin succeeded his uncle as vizier of Cairo. While it's widely accepted he deserved the promotion, it won't be the last time Saladin was in the right place at the right time.
I was put in charge of Emir Nur ad-Din's forces in Egypt. As vizier, I began imagining an empire that would stretch from Cairo to Jerusalem, a land where all Muslims lived as one and free of crusading armies. But for now, in Cairo, I was a foreign ruler with a foreign army. I had to prove myself and put down insurrections from pro-Fatimid forces.
The Fatimid dynasty reigned from Egypt. Established in the 10th century, it included much of North Africa, Sicily, and part of the Middle East. But by the time Saladin became the vizier of Cairo, the Fatimids were in decline.
I reorganized the Egyptian economy by cutting taxes and restructured the military so that there would be no question where the loyalties lie. No one expected me to be vizier for long. They were right. In 1171, the last Fatimid caliph died. I became the real ruler of Egypt.
He declared Egypt loyal to the Sunni Abbasid Caliphate of Baghdad, making it an integral part of the Zengid state. He would need a vast and powerful state to carry out his grand plans to expel crusaders. Saladin conquered North Africa and Yemen and took Damascus and Mosul. His troops then turned to taking the rest of Syria as well as Palestine from the Crusader armies.
I was only able to achieve this by the will of God and the loyalty and support of my family. My father was always there to offer me advice.
Keep Nuruddin in your good graces.
Yes, Father.
As your influence grows, so too will those who want to overtake you. Stay vigilant, my son.
Yes, Father. Thank you. My father was a great source of comfort for me. His guidance spoke to me time and again, in life and after his death in 1173. O God, admit him to paradise, make his grave spacious, and fill it with light.
In May 1174, news reached Saladin of the death of another significant person in his life.
Saladin, we've just received word from Damascus. The great Emir Nuruddin is dead.
Upon Nur ad-Din's death, his son, As-Salih Ismail al-Malik, was declared his rightful heir. But he was still a boy and in the care of the court eunuch. Saladin, biding his time, rode into Syria with a small army to claim the regency on behalf of the young heir.
We have lost a just and humble leader whose desire was to unite all Muslims across our lands. But our job is not yet finished. I wanted to unite all Muslim territories of Syria, northern Mesopotamia, Palestine, and Egypt. There was no time to waste.
After Nur ad-Din's death, Saladin proclaimed himself the independent ruler of Egypt. He didn't receive much resistance. As for As-Salih Ismail al-Malik, Nur ad-Din's son, he died a few years later in 1181 of an illness.
Under my rule, the Ayyubid dynasty, Muslims will retake our lands from foreign invaders.
Historians have long debated when the Ayyubid dynasty began. Some say it was when the Fatimid dynasty ended in 1171, but Saladin would have still been under Nur ad-Din's authority. For this reason, other historians agree it officially began in 1174, after Nur ad-Din's death.
I named the Ayyubid dynasty after my father, Ayyub.
Nur ad-Din felt he had successfully united Muslim lands. But Saladin's vision extended beyond what his predecessor had accomplished.
I knew that to secure Jerusalem, I would have to have both Egypt and Syria under my control. I sent soldiers to northern Mesopotamia and united us under one banner. I had competition, of course. I needed to convince the generals and soldiers who had been close to Nur-ad-Din to be loyal to me.
Egypt's riches to fund the battles and these diplomatic missions helped.
I acquired troops in our victories and sent them to counter Crusader advancements in Syria and Palestine. Under my rule, all the lands ever controlled by prior Muslim dynasties will unite. I had a large and loyal army, but there was much to overcome. Many states and independent city rulers to win over, as well as the religious differences. And those still loyal to the Fatimid Caliphate as well. I sent troops west to northwest Africa to deal with them. Meanwhile, my army crossed the Red Sea and conquered Yemen. I wanted all of Syria, but some parts were harder to take. In 1175, I was obsessed with Aleppo. It was a major economic hub and a city that Nur-ad-Din once ruled. But others were intent on me not taking it. I had set up camp outside its city walls when a group of men entered.
Halt! Who goes there? Assassins! Get them!
The Hashashin infiltrated our camp.
The Hashashins were a secret society from the Ismaili sect of Islam, which terrorized the Crusaders and Muslim rulers they saw as usurpers. The modern word assassin comes from their name.
I'd like to say that was the last time someone tried to assassinate me.
Stories attach themselves to the assassination attempts on Saladin, including one of him waking up to find a dagger underneath his pillow. A clear message from the Hashashins that they could strike when they wanted to. In 1176, Saladin married Ismat ad-Din Khatun, Nur ad-Din's widow. She was also the daughter of Damascus's last regent. Saladin still needed to legitimize his claim to rule, and marrying Ismat would help.
I must admit, I was taken with her. Ismat, you are my moon. I will love you for 1,000 years.
It's unclear whether Saladin and Ismat had any children together. Some say they had a daughter, but it's difficult to confirm. It is known, however, that Saladin had 17 sons from various women. Throughout his life, Saladin kept his family and friends close and rewarded their loyalty with positions of authority. He needed to surround himself with people he could trust. There's great danger in being sultan.
As we prepare for battle, fear not, dear faithful, for we have God on our side. Let us drive these crusaders from our land.
In 1177, Saladin set out to march on Jerusalem and retake the Holy Land after 88 years in Crusader hands. He was defeated. Baldwin IV, the leper king of Jerusalem, had teamed up with the nobleman Raynal of Châtillon and the Knights Templar, and outnumbered Salahadin's forces up Mont Gisard. According to the chronicler William of Tyre, Saladin only managed to escape by fleeing on a camel. With no other option on the table, Saladin negotiated a truce.
It is dangerous to underestimate one's foes. Baldwin was a formidable commander. I respected his courage and devotion and the adoration others had for him. We declared a truce, and I spent the following year recovering and rebuilding my forces. In the early summer of 1179, I ordered my nephew to lead raids on the coastal towns run by crusaders in order to cut their food supplies.
The coastal towns of the Kingdom of Jerusalem in the late 12th century included the city of Jerusalem, its surrounding territory, plus the cities of Tyre and Acre.
We faced the Christian forces in August 1179 at the Battle of Jacob's Ford. We destroyed Châtelet, a castle built by the Knights Templar, in less than a week.
Soon, Jerusalem will once again be in our hands.
This victory is considered one of Salahadin's greatest victories. Scholars say it set the course for him to retake Jerusalem and the Holy Land. But that's several years off still.
After 8 years, my army finally took Aleppo in 1183. 2 years later, we took Mosul. Mosul was a city of enormous wealth. By the time I was in my mid-40s, I ruled the land between the Nile and the Tigris. Egypt, Syria, Yemen, Mesopotamia, many great lands and cities came under my authority.
But the burden of war had started to take its toll on Salahadin. He was exhausted. His limbs ached, and he couldn't even sit up. In 1186, he wrote to his wife in Damascus, as he did every day.
My Esmat, my life of war feels a world away from you. Tell me news from Damascus. Stay safe and be well, as will I endeavor to be.
Salahadin's aides waited 3 months until he recovered from his illness to tell him that his wife was dead. It's believed she died of tuberculosis. There was little Salahadin could do. Certainly little time to mourn. He was at war.
The Inside Story podcast dissects, analyzes, and helps define major global stories. We get into the details with experts who explain how policies affect people. The Inside Story podcast by Al Jazeera. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
Prepare the troops. We shall harass these Christian armies, and if the sight of our forces don't make them buckle, then fight we will. The time has come to recapture Jerusalem.
Guy of Lusignan was the French king of Jerusalem. His wife was Sybil, the sister of the leprous King Baldwin IV, whom Salahadin had faced years earlier. In July 1187, tens of thousands of soldiers fought at the Battle of Hattin. Things did not go well for Guy and his men. They made a fatal error.
The Crusaders had chosen a spot with little to no protection from the hot July sun. They also had no access to water. Their army collapsed under my forces.
The short battle paved the way for Saladin to retake Jerusalem, along with the greater Crusader-controlled states including the Principality of Antioch and the Kingdom of Jerusalem. For now, though, Saladin had two important people in his custody: the King of Jerusalem, Guy of Lusignan, and the Prince of Antioch, Raynald de Chatillon. He'd been accused of multiple crimes, including threatening holy cities and attacking pilgrims in times of truce. Chatillon's death was swift.
Fear not, Guy of Lusignan. Kings do not kill other kings. You are free to go.
Saladin didn't only spare his life, he also let Guy of Lusignan and his queen wife, the heiress to the Kingdom of Jerusalem, escape back to Tyre on the coastline of modern-day Lebanon.
God forbid I allow a useless atrocity to happen. The shedding of human blood is not a game.
It's believed that at the Battle of Hattin, Crusaders lost pieces of the true cross. It had resurfaced many times over the centuries, but here, in 1187, it disappeared for good. Legend has it that when Pope Urban III heard the news back in Italy, he dropped dead on the spot.
My army moved towards the city of Tiberias. It surrendered that same month. We continued our march up the coast, bloodlessly taking cities along the way. We captured Beirut, Nablus, Nazareth, Haifa, Hebron, Bethlehem, and so on. Some people fled when they saw us coming. Others were overjoyed to see the backs of the Christian army. We were able to take many cities easily, but this wasn't the case in Ascalon and Jaffa. They put up fierce resistance. We'd been warring for years, and we still had more to go.
In Tyre, the Balian of Ibelin, a crusader noble of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, had begged Saladin to allow him safe passage to retrieve his queen. Saladin agreed as long as he did not take up arms against him and not spend more than a day in Jerusalem. The Balian of Ibelin agreed. He went back on his word. In September 1187, Saladin and his men were at Jerusalem's doorstep. They bombarded the city for 12 days. On the 2nd of October, the Balian of Ibelin stepped out of the city walls and faced Saladin. He surrendered unconditionally.
My brave soldiers, Jerusalem is ours. God is great.
It had been a long, ragged road to reclaim our rightful territory. But finally, Jerusalem was in Muslim hands again. I dreamt of this moment for a very long time.
Saladin was decisive in battle, but he was also known for his tolerance and compassion.
In 1099, the Crusaders entered Jerusalem and killed thousands of Muslims. The blood of men, women, and children flowed freely. I refused to do the same.
I warn you against shedding blood, indulging in it, and making it a habit, for blood never sleeps.
I ordered all places of worship, be it Christian or Muslim, be washed with rosewater. I showed everyone that our strength was in practicing mercy.
Al-Adl. The Crusaders within the city are prisoners of war. However, they can pay a ransom or else be enslaved.
Saladin achieved the goal of freeing Jerusalem from Crusaders. The Dome of the Rock became a mosque again. The crusading forces had retreated to Acre, a maritime foothold on the Mediterranean coast. They waited for their next orders. When word had reached Europe that Saladin's army had recaptured Jerusalem, 3 kings took up the Pope's challenge for a Third Crusade. Frederick Barbarossa of Germany, Philip II of France, and the King of England, Richard the Lionheart. These were the most powerful men of Western Europe, and they were coming for Saladin. In 1189, the Third Crusade begins.
Al-Adil, what do you think will come of our conquests?
What do you mean, brother?
I have been fighting for most of my life. I pray I have done right by God. I wonder how soon we will meet. For nearly 2 years, we fought crusading forces for Acre, but the European reinforcements were too strong. Our fighters were demoralized after years of fighting.
Under Richard the Lionheart, the Crusaders captured Acre in 1191. At the city at Arsuf, Saladin's forces suffered a crushing defeat. The Crusader armies moved on, retaking cities along the coast.
It is not worth dwelling on your losses. That only serves to trap and blind you from your mission. The dream of uniting the Muslim world and liberating the Holy Land was still before me. I not only saw it, I felt it.
By January 1192, Jerusalem was in Richard's sights. But fears of an ambush held him back. He didn't dare try and take it. Not yet.
Al-Adil, it is time to re-evaluate our strategy.
I needed to fortify our defenses in Jerusalem. But of course, nothing was as straightforward as that. We were running out of resources and funds.
One popular story from this time tells how Saladin raised money for the campaign by selling his rare books in Damascus. He had purportedly collected thousands over the years.
Men, we may have stumbled at Arsuf, but we now have the chance at redemption.
In July 1192, we took Jaffa.
Al-Adil, we must hold Jaffa. There can be no other outcome.
But soon after the fighting at Jaffa, Richard the Lionheart fell ill. He needed help and got it from an unlikely source.
Dear Saladin, I am writing you this letter for an unusual request. We are rivals, but I also feel we hold an immense respect for one another. I have fallen ill. I need water and a few supplies. You have fought valiantly and have led your army with grace and dignity. I hope you will meet my appeal with those same virtues.
Dear Richard, I am Muslim, and therefore I am required to help even an enemy in need. I have ordered my men to send you the supplies you requested. I'm also sending my personal physician and buckets of ice water, since you are so far from your home.
As the English king recovered, he received word from home. His younger brother John was attempting to take the throne. Richard the Lionheart was eager to return. In August 1192, the Crusaders took back Jaffa. Saladin had no choice but to negotiate a treaty.
Jerusalem will stay under Muslim control.
We agree to these terms, but Christians must be able to enter the city walls. This city is also holy to us, and we demand the right to make pilgrimage here in peaceful circumstances.
Then it will be agreed. Christians may make pilgrimage and will coexist with Muslims.
Neither one of us was wholly satisfied with this agreement, but the fighting had been brutal and long. We were both exhausted.
In 1192, after the signing of the Treaty of Jaffa, Richard the Lionheart left the Levant coast for good. The Third Crusade was over. The long years of battle had battered Saladin, mentally and physically. Severe fatigue and fever, possibly from typhoid, kept him bedridden for days.
It is clear he is taking his final breaths. Funeral arrangements should be prepared.
On the 4th of March 1193, Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, died in Damascus. He's buried in a mausoleum next to the Umayyad Mosque. After his death, his children fought to control his kingdom. His closest aide and younger brother, Al-Adil, eventually became the undisputed leader of Syria, Upper Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Yemen. Saladin left his mark on the history of the Middle East, and his legacy in death, much like in life, celebrates a grand figure whose military victories reshaped the region. He was a devout Muslim and formidable leader whose legend influenced future nations and leaders in the Arab and Muslim world. While the Ayyubid dynasty ended in 1250 with the rise of the Mamluk dynasty under Sultana Shagarat-ad-Daur, the Saladin eagle is still prominent today. It is featured on flags and coats of arms in Egypt, the UAE, Yemen, Iraq, and Palestine. Hindsight is narrated by me, Charles Dance. This series was produced by Sout Podcasts. Their team is producer and editor Rana Dawood, assistant producer Basant Samhoot, production assistants Heba Nabulsi and Kaula Alamori, sound design by Nuruddin Belhassen, assembly sound editing by Yazan Kawas. This episode is written by Justin Salhani. Edited by Reem Eldasuki. Research by Tarak Ayub. Fact-checking by Rawan Samamra. Special thanks to Associate Professor Dr. Mehmet Osalp for giving us an interview. Saladin is played by Rad Rawi. Extra voices played by Omar Zakaria, Bisha Najjar, and Stephen Brunton. Recording by 5A Studios. Additional research and fact-checking by Al Jazeera and Lynn Enwin. Joe DeFrias is the executive producer of Special Projects. Ney Alvarez is Al Jazeera's head of audio. Hindsight is a historical drama podcast. All dramatized scenes and dialogue are inspired by historical events, old interviews, and in some cases, new conversations with people close to the subject.